President Joe Biden has pardoned his son Hunter for basically any and everything he could have done in the past 11 or so years. The funniest thing about the pardon was that it actually gave Hunter Biden this like 3 or 4 hour window to commit more crimes. And I'm not exaggerating. Now, the funny thing is, everybody and their grandmother saw this coming, except for the people over in the corporate press who, for some reason, just always believe everything that is said by the government. In fact, these people know that they're lying. That's what they do. But we here at Timcast, most independent media outlets have been saying for a long time, there's no way that Hunter Biden is going to go to jail. There's no way that Joe Biden is going to let his son go to prison. And it's not just about a dad protecting his kid. Now, we've had those arguments where it's like, should a father protect his son and things like that? And, generally, I think so. If you could, why wouldn't you? Now, Matt Walsh makes the inverse argument, saying protecting your son doesn't mean pardoning them. It means let them go to prison for the horrible crimes they commit. You're enabling them. And I actually agree. I agree with that. Because Hunter Biden's an adult man, and he actually isn't being helped by his father or protected by his father by being pardoned. So let me clarify and say it is the duty of a parent to protect their children. But at a certain point, you're not protecting them by enabling them for 4 or 5 decades. At a certain point, you're just like, dude, you need help. You got to go to jail. But I'm going to lay one on you. I don't like to get conspiratorial. I really don't. But I'm going to go ahead and make some broad assumptions. I'm going to make some broad assumptions, again, which is not characteristic for the most part, but sometimes I do. When Hunter Biden, right, this pardon, in the media, they're saying it is because of the gun charge and the tax charge for which Hunter Biden is expected to be sentenced soon. So Joe has to issue this pardon now-ish. That's what the media is claiming this pardon's about. But if you read it, it's in fact one of the most broad and sweeping pardons in the history of this country, stating that from January 1st on 2014 till December 1st, 2024, Hunter Biden is absolved of any and all federal crimes he may have committed or will commit. That's the crazy thing. This covers everything. Why go back so far? I mean, the gun charge doesn't go back that far, right? Well, many people have pointed this out. First, they stated this is about Burisma. He pardoned his son going back to 2014 because of the international influence peddling, 10% for the big guy. Now, I think most people recognize that. Well, I'm seeing everybody on the internet post that, and they're saying, like, this is what it's really about. But that makes me ask some questions. I got to be honest. Why did Joe have his DOJ criminally charge his son in the first place? It's his DOJ. Merrick Garland was his appointment. And this is a question a lot of us asked when it was going on. The typical response was they're going after Hunter Biden on these lighter charges like a gun charge and taxes because it makes them look impartial, or they can claim they're impartial when they go after Donald Trump for documents or other nonsense. Say, see, we are not pulling any punches. Well, Joe Biden in his pardon says this is a selective prosecution. What? It's your DOJ. What are you talking about? You could have fired Merrick Garland if you wanted to. I'll tell you what I think. I think the purpose of the gun charge and the tax charge was intentionally to charge Hunter with something that, maybe isn't that big of a deal, but warranting charges. That way, when Joe made the move to cover up the Burisma crimes he had committed, his family had committed, he would have plausible deniability that, no, this is about pardoning Hunter over, guns and taxes. And it's Trump's selective prosecution and revenge. All of it lines up. Now, again, maybe I'm connecting puzzle pieces that shouldn't be. So it's just an idea. I'm not saying I know it's true. I'm saying it's something to think about. They keep saying in the media that Donald Trump wants revenge on his political opponents over and over and over again. And what's the point? So that when they pardon Hunter for the crimes committed in international influence peddling using Joe's name, 10% for the big guy, he can say these charges are selective. They shouldn't have been brought. Trump's threatening to wage lawfare against my son and use him as a tool to get back at me because I'm an old man. So I'm going to just blanket pardon him. In reality, it was all a setup. Why charge Hunter for the gun stuff in the first place or for the taxes in the first place? Sure. I mean, you could, but these people, look, they find drugs in the White House, and that's like, no, it's not mine. Well, who else is it going to be? I don't know. There's a lot of people in the White House probably doing drugs, to be honest. That's my thought. But let's jump into the news here, my friends. Before we get started, of course, it is Cyber Monday, so head over to castbrew.com and pick up your Cast Brew coffee now because we got the special deal going on. If you get 2 bags, it's 15% off. You get at least 3 bags of Cast Brew coffee, 20% off. If you buy 4 or more bags of Cast Brew coffee, you're getting 30% off, but it's only good today, December 2nd, until midnight tonight, just 1 minute before midnight, in fact. And so pick it up. It looks like now we're still sold out of Ian's Graphene Dream, but you can pick up Stand Your Grounds, which is a favorite, as well as Appalachian Nights. But let's jump into this story right here. This is from Politico. We haven't seen a pardon as sweeping as Hunter Biden's in generations. The full and unconditional pardon is aimed at protecting the president's son from future prosecution by the Trump Justice Department. Indeed, indeed. Well, I first want to read the statement from Joe Biden so you can get some context here, and then I can dismantle the manipulations and the lies. So this is from Kyle Cheney on Access Breaking. Biden pardons Hunter. This is from yesterday at 7:30 p.m. Joe Biden releases. Today, I signed a pardon for my son Hunter. From the day I took office, I said I would not interfere with the Justice Department's decision making, and I kept my word even as I have watched my son being selectively and unfairly prosecuted. Without aggravating factors like use in a crime, multiple purchases, or buying weapon as a straw purchaser, people are almost never brought to trial on felony charges solely for how they filled out a gun form. Those who were late paying their taxes because of serious addictions, but paid them back subsequently with interest and penalties, are typically given non-criminal resolutions. It is clear that Hunter was treated differently. I'm going to pause there and say the rebuttal from many personalities is that Hunter Biden set up shell corporations so that he could obfuscate the source of payments, which is different. Because, I brought this up. I said, I'm concerned about the gun charge because the gun charge is that Hunter Biden did not disclose he was a drug addict when he filled out the form. And his argument was, I'd stopped doing drugs just moments before and then started doing drugs just moments later. Yeah, nice try, dude. But I don't think you should be forced to self-incriminate. So I think he should win that one. I think the pardon is bad. I want him to challenge that to Supreme Court. As for the taxes, I said, I don't know a lot about this, but typically, if someone isn't paying the taxes, you just make them pay the taxes. So I charge him for it, even with shell corporations or whatever. But that I understand. Biden goes on to say, the charges in his cases came about only after several of my political opponents in Congress instigated them to attack me and oppose my election. Then a carefully negotiated plea deal agreed to by the Department of Justice unraveled in the courtroom, with a number of my political opponents in Congress taking credit for bringing political pressure on the process. Had the plea deal held, it would have been a fair, reasonable resolution of Hunter's cases. No reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter's cases can reach any other conclusion than Hunter was singled out only because he is my son, and that is wrong. There has been an effort to break Hunter, who has been 5.5 years sober, even in the face of unrelenting attacks and selective prosecution. In trying to break Hunter, they've tried to break me, and there's no reason to believe it will stop there. Enough is enough. He says, for my entire career, I followed a simple principle. Just tell the American people the truth. They'll be fair-minded. Here's the truth. I believe in the justice system. But as I have wrestled with this, I also believe raw politics has infected this process and led it to a miscarriage of justice. And once I made this decision this weekend, there was no sense in delaying it further. I hope Americans will understand why a father and a president would come to this decision. Sure. Well, I've got this supercut Tom Elliott posted on X. He says, corporate media, obviously Biden would never pardon Hunter. It is 9 minutes long. And I thought to myself, my friends, ain't no way I am going to play 9 minutes of them just saying the same thing over and over again. So I fixed it. 9 minutes of Democrats and media saying Joe would not pardon Hunter, but every time they say it, the video speeds up until it becomes incomprehensible shrieking, which, to be fair, is already the case.
Put the law before family.
I said I abide by the jury decision. I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Letting the world know that he will not wipe away the decision of 12 of his son's peers.
Was asked directly, and he has said he wouldn't pardon his son if he gets convicted.
Let's wait and see what happens if he loses.
Yeah, but he said it.
He's going to get pardoned by his dad. There's no question about that.
The president has ruled out pardoning his son.
Major commitment from the president, accepting the outcome of the trial and also pledging not to pardon his son. The contrast is profound. To sit there and say, we're not going to intervene in the legal process, and I wouldn't pardon my son. One side, Democrats and Joe Biden protecting the justice system. And on the other, Republicans and Trump protecting Trump.
I think you can figure out where this is going, so I'll just jump to the end. So you don't got to listen to 15 more seconds of this, but it just goes. It's seriously 9 minutes long, okay? And then I wrap the video with just, they lied. Over and over and over again. They kept saying, Joe has said, I mean, they're on these corporate cable channels, which have dying viewership, by the way, but they do still exist on YouTube and other platforms, saying, well, no, yes, but Joe has said he will not pardon his son. Meanwhile, the rest of us were like, why wouldn't he? Are you nuts? Of course he's going to pardon his son. Now, here's the interesting thing. Let me jump back to this poster from Kyle Cheney. He says, wow, the pardon is sweeping anything, crimes he committed or may have committed. Look at this. Pursuant to my powers under Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1 of the Constitution, have granted unto Robert Hunter Biden a full and unconditional pardon for those offenses against the United States which he has committed or may have committed or taken part in during the period from January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024, including but not limited to all offenses charged or prosecuted, including any that have resulted in convictions by special counsel David C. Weiss and docket number blah, 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 in the U.S. District Court for Delaware, blah, blah, blah. And in California, in testimony whereof I have hereunto signed my name and caused the pardon to be recorded with the Department of Justice. Now let's break down the two really funny things. The first was that he issued this yesterday around 7 or so p.m. And it says through December 1st, 2024. So everybody pointed out that Hunter had a few hours to just go and commit tons of federal crimes because he was completely pardoned for all of them. I wonder if Hunter took him up on that. Probably not. But it would be funny if he just started like, I don't know, like he converts his rifle to full auto. He buys a bunch of drugs and he's like, this is the greatest 3 hours of my life. In all seriousness, though, it does say, including but not limited to. They outright say going back to January 1st, 2014. Why? Why? This covers the period when Joe Biden was the vice president. What was Hunter Biden doing back then that might require a pardon? Very interesting, I say the least. But there are a lot of people who say it doesn't quite explain everything. Now with immunity, Hunter Biden cannot plead the fifth, so he can be required to testify. The big factor here I think most people need to pay attention to is that also over the weekend, Kash Patel was nominated as director of the FBI, which is funny. Because I think it's Ray, right? He still has 3 years left, which means Trump's going to fire him or he's going to resign. Kash Patel, we have had on Timcast IRL several times, and there's a lot of people really like him. He has outright said he's going to go after all the conspirators, everybody who was basically defrauding the United States, lying, pushing these hoaxes. Thanks to Devin Nunes, Kash Patel, a few others, we learned about the Russiagate hoax and the Steele dossier. Kash Patel has been, now I was hoping for CIA director. I think that's what Kash was talking about with Steve Bannon. But FBI director works very, very well. Now, we'll see if he gets confirmed. But it is interesting that the moment he gets nominated, within a day, Hunter Biden gets a full sweeping pardon going back 10 years. Just about 11 years, to be honest, because, January to December. 11-year pardon. Yeah, it's Burisma. Let me tell you about Burisma, my friends, and we'll talk about what this is really about. Now, I don't know that the charges under Joe Biden's DOJ of his own son are manufactured for the purpose of creating plausible deniability, but certainly makes sense. Why would Merrick Garland, working for Joe Biden, criminally charge Joe's son? Because Joe could just be like, you're fired. Now, maybe it's that he does want to appear impartial and he knows that Joe won't fire him because it would make Joe look very biased. I don't know, whatever. But at least now, Joe has a story to tell. I'm pardoning my son because this is selective prosecution. And I'm not just pardoning him for the gun and tax charges. I'm pardoning him for everything going back several years, even before anything related to the gun and tax charges. Because Trump wants to wage lawfare. Donald Trump got impeached because he asked the president of Ukraine, hey, what's going on with this Joe Biden saying, if you don't fire the prosecutor, you're not getting the $1 billion. Something that I've brought up quite a bit. Let's see if we can bring this up. I think it was at a CFR. Was it a CFR? I can't remember if it was Atlantic Council or Council on Foreign Relations. I think it was Council on Foreign Relations. He said, fire the prosecutor. I should bring this. What's this? The firing of the prosecutor, General Victor. And anyway. Here we go. Don't worry, I got it for you. Rest assured, the House Oversight Committee will get the clip.
I was not but it just happened to be that was the assignment I got. I got all the good ones, and so I got Ukraine, and I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired.
Now, here's what's fascinating about this. He does then go on to say, and they put in someone who is solid. Lies. I could break down this Burisma scandal for you in great detail. But let me just tell you, Hunter Biden was on the board of Burisma. The prosecutor had been investigating elements of Burisma, but its founder, Mykola Zlochevsky. Zlochevsky had fled the country when prosecutor Viktor Shokin was investigating nearly a dozen, as I can reference and cite Matt Taibbi's investigation on the matter, as well as my own independent investigation. I would defer to Matt Taibbi as substantially better at this than I am. And so Joe Biden says, if you're not getting the $1 billion unless you fire the prosecutor. Well, SOB, they fired the prosecutor. They put in someone who was solid. Funny, the guy they put in, after they did, Zlochevsky returns to the country. He's a rich guy who founded this energy company. He comes back. When Trump gets into office, he flees again. Donald Trump, seeing this clip and probably having no idea what's going on, I'm going to be honest. He sees this viral clip from conservative media because that's what Trump does. He follows the conservative media and independent media, and he calls up the president. He says, what is this Joe Biden $1 billion thing? And he's like, I want to know what this is all about. What happens? They impeach Donald Trump for it. A couple CIA agents and some lawyers come together and say Donald Trump is engaging in a quid pro quo. These people are evil. And it pisses me off to no end. Trump caught him. He caught him. Viktor Shokin, the prosecutor who got fired, signed a sworn affidavit that he was approached and told, because you are investigating this, it has to stop and you are fired. Otherwise, they're not going to give us $1 billion. $1 billion. It's a lot of money. That makes a man a king. Well, in his country of Ukraine, sure. And sure enough, Shokin got fired. Now, we want to investigate what Hunter Biden has been doing. We've had people like Tony Bobulinski come out and say this was influence peddling. They flew to China. That's why Joe has done this blanket pardon that even Politico says we haven't seen a pardon as sweeping in generations. Let's take a look at this one. They say Joe Biden's grant of clemency on Sunday night, an extraordinary political act with extraordinary legal breadth, insulates his son from ever facing federal charges over any crimes he possibly could have committed over the past decade. Now, many people are saying, yes, but how does that make sense, Tim? Because now Hunter Biden's going to have to testify. He can't plead the fifth. A lot of people are saying, why hasn't Joe pardoned himself or his brother or anybody else? Because Hunter was facing sentencing soon. And I don't know that Joe Biden needs to be pardoned because he's very old. He probably doesn't care. And as the special counsel already stated in the documents case, because they found classified documents and his properties, his offices, he's a doddering old man. And no one would convict him because he has a bad memory. Joe doesn't expect anyone to go after him, so he doesn't care. But his son needs protection. Now, sure, Hunter Biden might testify to all these things. This may be the ship going down. And people say, but why would he do that? Because now, no. What do you mean, why would he do that? And I'll tell everybody posting this saying it doesn't make sense. Yes, it does. If you're Joe and you're thinking, my son goes to prison for serious crimes, which may border on the treasonous, or I pardon him for everything now. And the worst case is they find out what they were probably going to find out anyway. That's it. That's it. Either Hunter goes to prison or faces very serious penalties for his influence peddling in foreign countries, which have helped exacerbate war, conflict, and the destruction of his country, or he protects his son. And he says, son, I want you to go down with the ship. What does Joe care? He's an old man. With all due respect, He's as the special counsel stated, a doddering old man with a bad memory. He's not long for this mortal coil. And I mean that with no disrespect. I just mean it's a reality of his age. So what does he care? And you know what? I got to be honest. His brother may be insulated from this. Hunter may not be so smart. This is the current state of things. There's a lot to go through, of course. We've got IRS whistleblowers, Supervisory Special Agent Gary Shapley and Special Agent Joe Ziegler saying no amount of lies or spin can hide the simple truth that the Justice Department nearly let the president's son off the hook for multiple felonies. We did our duty, told the truth, and followed the law. Anyone reading the president's excuses now should remember that Hunter Biden admitted to his tax crimes in federal court. That Hunter Biden's attorneys have targeted us for our lawful whistleblower disclosures, and that we are suing one of his attorneys for smearing us with false accusations. I mean, so these are agents who are just like, they were going to let him off with this stuff, and we knew he did it. And they penalized these guys. Now, even CNN.
That's the message this morning from not just Donald Trump, but from President Joe Biden himself. The president issuing a full and unconditional pardon to his son Hunter after repeatedly insisting in public that he wouldn't do it.
Is there any?
Yeah, we get it. They're acting surprised. Now, how do you think these liberals are handling it? We got this tweet from Warren Redlick, who says, 2020, Trump abused his pardon power. 2023, I'd be shocked if Joe pardoned Hunter. And now, it's fine. Why do we care? Because these people are cultists, okay? Wall Street Mav says, Hunter's laptop is Russian disinformation. Step 1. Step 2, Hunter's laptop was real, but it's old news. Step 3, Hunter gets a full pardon for everything he admitted to and everything we found out because of his laptop since 2014. Very interesting. How about that? The full unconditional pardon. Now, Nate Silver, of course, chimes in saying, exactly the same people who are mad about my takes that Biden needed to step aside are mad about my pointing out his obvious hypocrisy. I guess if you forgive him for quite possibly throwing an election to Trump, you'll forgive him for anything. He says the White House flagrantly lied about this even after the election. Look, I could be persuaded if you wanted to tell me that politics is just blood sport, but these people are convinced of their own moral superiority when anyone with half a clue knows otherwise. Indeed. And of course, it all comes around the time that Kash Patel is named as the FBI nominee, as the nominee for FBI director. We're big fans of Kash. We've had him on the show several times. And I'm proud to say that many clips from Timcast IRL in which we've hosted Kash have been going viral because Kash articulately, clearly, and quite dispassionately says, here's what we have to do and why. Now, they're claiming it's the apocalypse. The Atlantic says a constitutional crisis greater than Watergate. They keep saying Kash is just a diehard loyalist of Trump. He has no experience. None of the past appointees from the Biden administration had any relevant experience. I mean, the head of HHS was an AG, as a lawyer. And they're like, RFK Jr. has no experience. Neither does the guy now. Kash Patel, the real problem, when they say he's unqualified, he's certainly qualified. When they say he's unqualified, what they're really saying is the qualifications they're looking for are being a shill to the deep state and the uniparty. And so they're losing their minds over this. But a loyalist? Yeah, Trump's going to pick someone who's like, whatever you say, boss. A loyalist? You're supposed to hire people who defy you? Spare me your manipulations. We are watching the meltdown in real time. Now, I hope Kash makes it in. But rest assured, Joe Biden's probably going to pardon a lot more people, not just this one son. But I'll wrap it up there, my friends. Smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Become a member over at timcast.com and support our work directly. And like I mentioned, castbrew.com, Cyber Monday deal. You can pick up all the coffee you want right now. It is available at a discount price. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you on the next segment coming up at noon.